my office, Samara and Alexandra, your friends, your mothers, your realtors. You've been doing fantastically good, if I may say so. May I say so? May I say that?
You definitely may say so. And can we just say we love this office in Kirkland?
Well,
It's
I won't take any
beautiful.
credit for that. That's all my team. You like the decor?
Beautiful.
This is what's gonna.
Beautiful,
This is
yeah.
the look and style that we'll replicate in Westmount.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Mm.
The reason why it's not done, which I shouldn't say on camera, and so I will not. But there's a reason. Uh-oh. But let's not.
You can edit it out. Tell
No. I'll tell you after. So thank you for doing this. The idea here is to share. It's to get to know you guys on the human side, on the not on the sales side, but more on the human side of things. I said your mothers, your wives, too. I believe, right? We can talk about that. Samara's looking at me. What's going on in your lives, and how does it affect, or how do you juggle the two, the work, the career, the real estate stuff, plus the personal things?
It's a very good question. How do we juggle it?
I find it extremely hard to juggle. But I find if you get a good night's sleep, that's probably the secret.
Are you getting good night's sleep? Maybe we should clarify that you just.
So Samara has definitely been sleeping like a baby.
Yeah.
Or should I say like a very healthy adult,
Yeah.
or a very healthy teenager.
But your kids are older now, so obviously.
Yeah, my kids are older.
So you went through that period where it was much harder when they're much younger.
Yeah.
And now I guess it's getting a bit easier.
So I mean, when I
Anyway.
had my first, I knew that it was going to be very tough to work. So I quickly had my second afterwards, and then.
Smart.
Yeah.
I like
and
that.
So now they're a bit older, and they sleep through the night, so can't complain.
And you're still in the thick of things. It's fairly new.
I'm still in the thick of things, but I still wanted to continue building and not take any break. Luckily, I have a lot of family help and, at home and everything, and my husband does a lot, so that helps as well.
So the complication that adds, already it's a tough thing to be self-employed, to be a realtor, to just make it. Also, not the easiest years in the last few years in real estate. How do you, because you've been doing this for quite a while, Samara, how did you juggle that, and at what period of your career did it happen? Because for you, it's newer.
Yeah.
For you, it's been a few years. So do you find that, how did you adapt or adjust? Someone's watching this, going through it, or starting, thinking, oh, I want kids. What's the looking back kind of way?
Don't try to achieve perfection with your caretakers. If, like no one's going to take care of your children the way you're going to take care of your children. And it takes a village. So you definitely need support.
So that's like being in real estate and starting a team.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you also have a team. You guys are
Yeah.
a team.
Yeah.
And you have other people that are in your team. So we'll get back to that later. But
I'm a bit more of a perfectionist in business than.
so the perfectionist thing, it was something that was challenging. You had to get over, or you were trying to get things perfectly done.
You have to take the help that you get, and just to take as much help as you can get. But also it's important I work for my family, so I also need to make sure that I'm not just working and then missing out on the moments of my family that I'll never get back again, because the kids are only a certain age.
But I also find, I
I was
interrupted you.
going to say, this is what we call balance. I think that's my definition of balance. It doesn't mean that you're doing 50-50 work and 50%
No,
family.
not
It just
at all.
means that while you're in the situation, you're conscious of, okay, I'm not going to get these moments back. So when I'm with my kids, my young kids, and I have to say, I have 3 young kids. I was married.
You've got a lot of kids.
You're very brave.
But when you do it again, I think is where, for me anyways, is where you appreciate them and the moments.
Totally.
And the every second that I'm with them, I'm fully with them, because I know that it's going to go.
But I have something to say about that. So I grew up with my mom sort of being around like 70% of the time, 80% of the time, and it was great. But I find that your children, when you're also working full-time or almost 24/7, You're also setting a really good example. You're teaching them work ethic, you're teaching them discipline. You're also teaching them, I mean, with Samara more so now, my daughter gets to see us in meetings at my house. So it's really nice of her to see. And actually, the best thing I ever saw my daughter do recently was she's always scrambling to get to my laptop. And I couldn't understand why. And I thought it was the screen, but it was actually the keyboard. She wanted to get on and start typing. And the first time she did it, she was typing and she gave me the biggest smile I've ever seen, like, look at me go. And I was really, it was really heartwarming to see that. And I'm sure you've seen that, but no one had told me about that she sort of sees working or when I'm serious as actually being a good thing. So I thought that
Do
was
you
very
remember
nice to
that
see.
video of my youngest and she has like a backpack?
Yes.
And I say,
Yes.
hey, where are you going? I'm going to meeting.
Yeah, and I also remember another time I was over, and this was live. It wasn't even on video. And I remember her same daughter, I'm not going to say her name, but on video, but also saying, getting up with a big bag and saying, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to work. And I just thought that was so interesting that they don't see it as a negative thing. Oh, I
No.
don't get to see my mom, but they,
But you must
yeah.
feel the same, because I feel this every morning when I leave. Then my boys will say, those that can talk at the they oh, Papa, he's going to work, and then they wave. But I also feel the guilt still.
You feel guilt.
You don't feel
I
any
don't
guilt?
feel good.
What the hell? You see, that's I'm amazed at that. I feel so bad every morning when I for that window of, oh my God, I'm abandoning my kids.
I have a millisecond of guilt because I think it's human nature to feel guilty that you're abandoning your kids and your words.
Yeah. Well,
But then,
maybe it's not the right
but
choice of words, but
I also teach them. I say to them, hey, you know, all of this costs money. You want to do basketball, you want to do hockey, you want to do, right? It's not their fault, but it's that.
you want to play basketball? Then I have to go to work. It's on you.
Yeah.
No, you
No,
can't say
but
that.
no, it is.
She's just,
How do
she's
you-
explaining to them
That
to
there's
lead a,
value. Yes,
yeah.
there's a reason why, and it's yeah, I get
I
it.
don't want my kids taking anything for granted, even the water. And I think I've given you this spiel before about the water.
The water.
Yeah.
It's all about gratefulness.
Yeah, it's all about gratitude. It's like, I don't want them
Gratitude,
to, like, we turn on our faucets and we don't realize how
Yeah.
blessed we are to just have an unlimited supply of
That makes me think
water.
of something. In that essence, traveling to
Yeah.
other, not, I mean, I don't mean locally. I mean going to other countries,
Oh, it's
other cultures,
amazing.
bringing the kids with you. Yes, it is hard. It's very challenging. But for what you just said, seeing the differences that what we take for granted sometimes. You go to well, I don't want to say a specific place because I don't want to, but you go elsewhere in the world, you see that there's not everybody that has water, as in your example, or food, or plenty of this, or whatever it is. So I think that's important. How do you do that? Did you? But for you, maybe you've done it, or you're still doing it, where
Done
you
what?
take the kids and you go to different places in the world, just so that it opens up their.
I haven't had much of a chance yet, but I'll tell you one thing I've noticed from traveling to third world countries is I see people who have a fraction of the amount that anyone else I know has, and they're happy. And I think it says a lot. I mean, you don't need that much to truly be happy. So we should just be grateful for whatever.
I have to say it's funny because it's a bit of a paradox the way we're speaking, because we're in an industry
Yeah.
where, get the most listings, make the most sales, which is in itself fulfilling. Actually, we were saying that the hustle, you're grateful for the hustle.
Well, it's a feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Of what can I push myself to do? What am I capable of? It's
Exactly.
not for necessarily materialistic or financial.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, I hope it is. Anyways, for me, I have to speak for me. It's more about what can I do? I need to challenge myself. I need
Yeah.
to keep growing, and so.
But we're
not a bad thing.
talking about, no, it's not a bad thing, but I'm saying it's ironic because we're in this industry and we're entrepreneurs
Yes.
and we're talking about, being grateful for very little. But in a way, what you said made sense because it's not that we're talking about, the
The superficial stuff. I'm not
we're
working
talking about
for a bag.
the
or for-
intrinsic value of
Yes.
it, the hustle, the getting to know people,
But by the, I think the attitude of gratitude is a very important attitude to have to succeed in business because it brings you onto this, as they say, like the energy frequency. Like, it's you're more positive, you're more uplifted. And then when you're calling your clients or you're talking to another broker, it's contagious. And
True.
it
It's true.
definitely, I think it's very valuable to.
So how do you integrate that then? Was it always a thing, or it became more important because of something in your life that happened? Like, how do you become more grateful, or how do you practice it? Like I cannot think that you are born with
The easiest way to practice gratitude is just to make a list every day. Just think of 3 things. At one point, were you on that group that I made, the
gratitude
list?
thread. Yeah.
Yeah, I made a gratitude thread one time with a bunch of my friends where I said, okay, guys, every day you have to post 3 things that you're grateful for. And
How long did that last?
not long. Not long.
Oh, why? Like, what made people stop doing it, do you think?
No, I hope that everyone was still doing it in their minds to a certain extent, but I think
I maybe don't do it in that way where I'm talking about something direct that I'm grateful for. I mostly just do it in a feeling like I'm grateful. Like I tell Samara, since we've been working more regularly and we're a team now and we have someone else working with us, so I'm really grateful to work with you and I'm really grateful we get to share everything that we're both good at.
Yeah.
And I find it's a really good combination and I'm grateful for that. And it's not something that's super tangible. It's just I'm saying I'm really grateful for it and I feel good about it. I feel really good about it.
I do too.
And working together, building, growing, that's the whole idea. When I talk about growth, and you've heard me more specifically for many years discuss this, and it's for that feeling, that group, that many employees with me together.
It's a camaraderie. That's really what it is.
Because being a self-employed, being a realtor, being an agent, a broker, whatever you want to call it, it's very lonely. I felt when I was doing that at the time. And so for me, it's when people say, oh, you're all about growing, you always want, yeah, but that for me, growth means I'm doing this with more people, I'm helping, we're doing it together.
So there was a point when we were talking a lot about growth and I was always hesitant, and I kind of put my finger on what it was that made me hesitant about growth. And it's that I want to grow sustainably. It has to be sustainable, right? And as a one-man show, it is not sustainable.
Well, maybe sorry, but the bigger I get, the more fun, the more comfortable, I should say. That's not the right word. It feels more comfortable because there's more people, there's more security and growth than by being by yourself or being.
I think you're probably talking about you end up having someone that can sort of play your role. Whereas when you're in the process of growing, you don't really have someone at your level yet.
Well, you could do the things that you do best so that you enjoy best. And also just on the security side of things, if the economy goes not as well as you thought, or we're living right now a geopolitical situation, the bigger you are, the more resistant you are to these outside factors that you can't control, is what I'm finding out. So to stay smaller, to stay by yourself, or is more dangerous for the things that you can't control. Is what I find. So together now you've built something.
Yeah.
And I hope it's going to keep on growing, and because I think that you'll experience, and you tell me in a few months if I'm wrong, but I think you're going to have more fun. And it's going to be more pleasant to do.
We already are having.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. But also we've been discussing more and more because, I used to see a lot of brokers working way outside Montreal, and this was years ago where I didn't really understand why they would do that because of the traveling. But also being resistant, I find, is also being outside Montreal.
Well, bigger.
Yeah, bigger.
And I mean, that's what it is. If
Yeah.
you serviced the whole province, then you would be in a better position in case, I don't know, the high-end market goes
For
not
sure.
great, or-
Diversification within
Yeah.
your industry. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you look at the big successful businesses, they have that diversification. They don't stick to one segment of the market. They have it all nowadays. If you take, Mercedes have the A class all the way to the S class. They cater to anybody. It's
Even
no
in the
longer
restaurant business, they're going into grocery
right.
stores. Yeah.
true. Disney, Disney, they're not only no more just in one segment,
Oh,
in
yeah.
different things,
Yeah.
entertainment, obviously. But they also have they're getting into the transportation business soon.
That I
heard.
didn't know.
I heard. And so they diversify. So it's kind of the same thing on a smaller scale. If we
Yeah.
talk about our industry as realtors, brokers, agents.
Yeah, totally.
So how do you then shift and transfer your knowledge to your team members, the people that are going to work with you? What's your approach?
So
in regards to
Samara
that?
is excellent at that. I'm a bit more of a micromanager, and I'm working on that. Samara is actually excellent at delegating.
Well, does that mean that you don't look at the finer details when you talk about micromanaging? Because
Micromanaging, it's sort of like I'm not as easily giving roles to people, whereas she
You
does
don't-
it.
It's not like second nature to you. Like
Yeah,
you're not-
exactly.
the
It doesn't come-
delegating
Yeah,
part.
the delegating part is
Yeah.
not. Yeah, but I don't think you have an anxiety around it or anything
No,
like that. No. So I think it's about having like systems. So for example, when it comes to like a new listing, we have step by step procedure, fail proof.
That will give the client's experience what he would have gotten if there was no one else than you
Exactly.
as the team leader.
Because there's
servicing them.
so many things that if you're an agent and you're working on your own, there's so many things that you're doing that anyone else could be doing, like the administrative stuff. And
So I love what you just said, the systemization of your business, which
Yeah.
requires that you take some time and you actually write down everything. There's a great book. I don't know, maybe you've read it or heard of it, Michael Gerber, the E-Myth. It's a
I
classic.
read it because of you.
But that's
yeah.
that. If
what
I
is
remember,
it about? I haven't
It's
read
about
it.
it's about systematizing.
Systematizing.
See, you don't have to even know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But that's the book. It's about it gives as an example that everybody would
Is that the
know.
one about motivation?
No. Well,
He talked about motivation in it, saying like it's a myth, like to get
no, that's
motivated.
another one.
Oh.
That's the motivational myth, I think.
It is the motivational myth.
But there's
yeah.
the E myth,
Yeah.
which is the E, I believe, stands for entrepreneur myth by Michael
yes,
Gerber.
yes.
That's about systems and processes and how McDonald's was the greatest example of
Really?
doing
Okay,
that.
I didn't
And
know
that's
that.
why they scaled and grew and keep growing even to this day. And very powerful book for anybody that's self-employed.
Yeah.
So that's a bit what you're, well, not a bit, that's what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's we were saying before, that we can't require perfection.
Well, there's no perfection in nature.
There's no perfection, exactly.
And nothing.
But I would say when it comes to like delegating, if you create the systems in a oh my
Well,
God,
the
what's
system
that?
thing, that the why we don't do it is that it's so simple, but it's so time consuming.
Exactly.
Because when you start breaking
yeah.
it, you just stop the daily.
That's a
But you
routine.
have to do it. You have to do it, and
but
that's what I've
But
noticed.
that's a myth. It's
What's a myth?
because in the short term, it's so time consuming, but in the long term, it's so time consuming to not do it.
And I'm going to give you a little tip, and we talked about that off camera before, but using AI to do this
Oh
now
yeah. Oh yeah.
is a game changer.
AI can give you great game plans,
It can help
how to do
you
things. Yeah.
put down in a visual way or a written way your ideas, what's in your head. Speaking of processes and systems, it's a much quicker way than you doing it, depending on your personality, I guess. But for me, it's the greatest invention that was ever done. I keep telling my wife, yesterday she was here, we were working on something. I said, if I didn't have AI, I couldn't do as fast and efficiently as 80% of the things I'm working on. I
Yeah.
could just produce way more in a fraction of the time with it. So that could be a way for you to write down to all the processes in your day.
We do that already. We do
I've been
do
doing
a
it
lot
since before AI. Yeah.
Oh, me too. I just think that as a tool now, though, for someone that would, let's say, want to start doing, writing down their different processes and procedures and systems, it would do
Oh
it in a
yeah.
much quicker way than you and I maybe had to do it manually and on a whiteboard. And so very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So what's the next thing now? What's the next big thing, if you want to talk about that, in your team, in your lives, your personal lives, your, I don't know, like what's the goal?
I think for
Work-
me the goal is always work-life balance, because as much as work is important, I think, what are we working for?
Yes.
And yeah, just trying to build a sustainable business that
Yeah, that's exactly it. Work-life balance as well, avoiding burnout, because a lot of people in this industry do go into burnout.
Well, burnout because there's no why. Why am I doing this?
Actually,
What's
you
the
have a good point. It's true. Why am
it,
I doing this?
now? I want to talk about something that you were working on. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but you had this idea a few years ago that you started doing, that you still do, which is assisting. You want to talk about that or no?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I even know what he's
The
talking.
coaching?
No. Well, yeah, you got many things going on, but I know the thing that we discussed with
Dude, we've discussed a lot. What?
with Stephanie. Stephanie was what she wanted to do and what you were doing before. You want to talk
Yeah.
about that or no? But you may have to edit this out, Matteo. Keep note.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of editing happening here.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
You want to talk about that or no?
About working with seniors?
Yeah, or not really?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic
Yeah,
to talk
sure.
about. Yes.
So what is it that for you, this concept, this idea? You talked about burnout. I'm talking about the why, the bigger picture, the
So
bigger goal. This to me is the bigger goal. No, you were trying to, and this is my own
No, so
interpretation. You were trying to find the why am I doing this in a more meaningful, deeper way,
Yeah.
and then you started exploring that avenue. This is my own interpretation.
No.
Am I wrong or right?
So I personally, I love to help people. It's not just, and I when I was getting into real estate, they said, yeah, you get into real estate because you're helping people. Well, that's, to me, I think most real estate agents are entrepreneurial. They're, you can edit this out because I know that we don't want
the
to.
dollar.
They're chasing the dollar.
Yeah, and I've seen that regularly, where they're just chasing the
They don't-
dollar.
Yeah, but
they
not
don't
the
care.
successful ones. Not the let me rephrase that. Not the ones that have been doing it for a long time.
Do you know Alex? I told Alex one time I wanted to start a podcast with her called Why I'll Never Make It in This Business, and it's because I have a heart. It's like
No. The brokers that have been in the industry for a long time, i.e. 15 plus years, are not about the money. That can't be. You can't. Those that chase that dollar are the ones that don't make it that long. They get in because they think
no,
it's going
but
to be
you
easy.
remember I did this profile one time about it was like a personality profile, and there was the social, artistic, entrepreneurial,
Well, yeah,
realistic.
But you have to be
Real estate agents, when they categorize what a realtor is, a lot, for example, a kindergarten teacher is social artistic, right? A real estate agent,
You have to.
a real estate agent is only entrepreneurial.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they make it. I'm talking about, that's maybe the original.
I think he's right. It's the original base for what it was. But now when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be artistic. You have to be
you got to do
personal. You got to
Things
do all of these things.
Well, then with being a solopreneur means that now, I think more with the appearance of social media, you have to create content. There's that creativity aspect, unless you hire someone, but then it's not really you. And there's many more hats today than that needs to be worn by the solopreneur than it used to be.
I get what you're saying now. It makes more sense to what you're saying. But
That's
to
why I
go
need
back to what we were
ChatGPT to do
saying,
the interpretation.
some are just chasing the dollar, but we'll see if
Yes,
those guys
but they
last.
won't last. And you talked about burnout. That's probably going to be their reality because it's not a big enough of an incentive of a motivator to just want more money. Look, I can talk personally about that. You cannot sustain and keep growing and doing if it's for money. It's the corniest thing you hear everybody say, but once you get the car or the houses or the trips or the things or you realize, well, I'm not happier. That's not what it is that's making me happier. You've heard this a million times, but you've heard it from people that didn't do it. Then you hear it from people that have done it. I think it has more credibility and value.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But I think,
Yeah.
I mean, you have your work day, and how do you fill that time in a way that doesn't just
That's
fill your
meaningful.
pockets, exactly, but
Right.
it's fulfilling.
That's why your idea or what you do, because you have different things,
Yeah.
but that helping out the seniors on a way deeper level than just selling their properties or finding them a property. What you
Well,
are
what
doing is I guess for you way more meaningful and has way more weight and
Well,
value.
we want them to feel good about the process because they get very anxious about it. But this goes to our business model in general as well. We want to keep our integrity. We want to remain kind while at the same time still defending our clients' interests and fighting for them on the market.
But it's one
It
thing to
does
say it because
require-
everybody says it. It's another, how do you demonstrate it? And I think that's
So the thing is that you have someone who's been living in a house for 50, 60 years potentially, like
Yeah.
a really, really long
Yeah.
time. Most real estate agents that come in, they're thinking, how am I going to get them to sell? Personally, like when I see this situation, they will not be rushed. Okay. They've been there for so long. They are not going to be rushed. It's not even just a matter of moving their things, which by the way is huge, but it's also the sentimentality of the space for them that they've seen their 40-year-old son took his first steps right over there, So
Yeah.
it's not, you can't, and it's also not a sale for them. It's a move. It's not.
So I have a theory about
Yeah.
that, and the why some will be pushy or salesy in that situation is because they haven't built a big enough of a system or a business to allow them to be patient and to think of the relationship and the human.
Again, short-term thinking.
But they're also just struggling financially. They're struggling to put food on their plate, to
Maybe.
pay their mortgage, to pay their whatever. And so they, by default, cannot focus on just having a conversation and relaxing because I got to pay the bills. I got to figure out how I'm going to make money. And that's also why I keep saying that growing and growth and getting more people to be with you, to be more successful, to make more money is going to give you that freedom to do what you're doing or to do what I'm doing right now. I couldn't be doing this if I couldn't take care of the basics, right?
Right.
I couldn't. This is an extraordinary thing. So that's my point with that.
I totally get it, and you're right. It's true. You wouldn't have time to do these extra things or to spend extra time with clients.
Would you have time to come here and sit here and do this if you were in a very tough financial struggling?
No,
You
definitely
can't
not.
think straight.
You can't
That's right.
think straight. Yeah, exactly.
So is it really their fault? Can we blame them?
Can we?
Or can we find a way to teach them or educate them on how to become better at what they do so that they end up in a position of growth where they can actually...
It also comes down to personality, I suppose.
Yeah. You've got to see long term. But back to that, there are deals you won't get. You just won't get them. There are deals that you won't get. So
His ears are on fire right now.
No, I agree 100%.
Oh,
Actually,
really?
Well, 1,000%.
yeah, there are deals you
You-
won't get. That way you need that's why you need as many opportunities as possible.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, that's my whole... I say this
Spiel.
115 billion times a
I've
day.
heard you say it.
You need to do the presentations. You're going to do 20 presentations to get one or two, maybe more if you're better. But the point is, if you have the right expectations about that, you're gonna have a great time doing this.
I think it's also about mastering the art of getting up when you fall. You know, we all look at, those real estate agents that are taking over the market and just making the commission so quickly, but we don't see is how many times.
Yes. Well, you have to have the right environment, the right
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
the right structure behind you, the support group. That
Yeah.
it be your family, your spouse. Let's talk about that quickly. How's the dynamic in your families? Is there? I mean, it's a because why am I saying that? As a self-employed person, it's hard depending on who you're with. If they're not self-employed, if they didn't grow up in that environment, sometimes it's hard for them to understand.
So my husband is a litigation lawyer, so his schedule is very, very different from mine. I'm usually the one that's home to give my daughter the bath, but I do have help either from my mom, my mother-in-law, or a nanny, where there's a few nights a week where I'm not doing the bath and I'm not doing the dinner, just so I can get a bit of a break and then I'm ready to reset.
Important.
So that's how I sort of handle the regular day-to-day things.
Support wise, I don't know. I'm okay with my family support wise. I would say like when it comes to challenges with real estate and frustrations I may have, no one gets me better than Alex.
Well, especially because you're in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
too,
you're in
so
the
when
industry.
you
Yeah.
talk certain scenarios and challenges, it's much easier
So
for
we're-
someone that's
I
in
always
it.
say everybody serves a purpose, like all of your friends, you can't get everything from
No,
one
for sure
person,
not.
right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to real estate moral support,
There you
Yeah.
go.
I also I call a spade a spade. I mean, obviously we don't say names, but I hear a lot of stories about massive brokers, losing deals, messing up a deal. It happens to everyone. And they also get screwed and they get themselves back up and they move on and everyone needs to
the
just
art of getting back up.
yeah, the art
Yeah.
of getting back up and just moving on so you can get to your next deal, and that's what it's all
Well,
about.
commitment, discipline, having
Yeah.
again the bigger picture of why am I doing this, a bigger reason than just again the financial gain. Why though? For what? What am I going to be able to do with? Is all things that will help with the getting back up. Thank you so much for coming today and
You're
discussing
done with us?
your personal. Yes, I am done with you. Time is money. I gotta go do another deal. No, but I want to do this more frequently. I want to periodically get a sense of what's going on, and I really appreciate you
Thank
taking
you
the
for
time to
having
share.
me.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
having us. It was really great.
You're done with us?
Yeah, I gotta get going.
Gotta
No,
get
but